Hey there! Welcome back to Color and Craft Haven, a little corner of calm where we can slow down, breathe, and add a little color to the day. Today we're talking about one of the sneakiest, most powerful tools in flat artwork: contrast. It sounds wonderfully artistic and slightly intimidating, like something a museum curator whispers while adjusting tiny glasses. But contrast isn't reserved for fine artists with dramatic scarves. It's something every colorist and creative hobbyist can use to make a page leap off the paper without touching a single drop of paint. If you've ever finished a page and thought, well, technically everything is colored, but somehow it still looks a little sleepy, today's discussion is for you. One of the biggest misconceptions about coloring is that brighter automatically means better. We've all done it. We've opened a brand new set of pencils or markers, see every vibrant color imaginable, and immediately think, excellent, the page is about to become visible from space. 5 minutes later, every flower is neon, every leaf is emerald, every mushroom is crimson, and somehow the entire page has become one giant visual argument. It's like attending a party where everyone is shouting their introductions at the same volume. If everything is exciting, nothing actually stands out anymore. That's where contrast quietly walks into the room, politely clears its throat, and restores order before anyone throws fluorescent confetti. Contrast is simply the relationship between differences. It isn't only about black versus white, although that's certainly one example. It can be light versus dark, warm versus cool, saturated versus muted, smooth versus textured, large shapes beside tiny details, or even busy areas next to quiet ones. Your brain absolutely loves differences because they're how we notice important things. Imagine trying to spot a polar bear in a snowstorm versus spotting it standing in the middle of a watermelon patch. One of those situations requires considerably less squinting. Our eyes naturally look toward areas where differences exist, which means contrast becomes the steering wheel guiding viewers around your artwork. One of the easiest ways to create stronger contrast is through value. Value simply means how light or dark a color appears. Two completely different colors can actually have very similar values. A medium green and a medium red may feel wildly different emotionally, but if they're equally light, they'll blend together more than you might expect. That's why black and white photos are such wonderful teachers. Remove the color entirely, and suddenly you're left seeing only the light and the dark relationships. It's a bit like discovering your favorite dessert has been secretly teaching mathematics the whole time. Unexpected? Yes. Surprisingly useful? Also yes. Here's a fun experiment the next time you're coloring. Pick a page with a cute little cottage. Color the roof, the walls, the windows, the flowers, the path, and the trees, all with medium value colors. Nice colors, attractive colors, perfectly respectable colors. Then step back. Chances are the cottage starts looking like it's hiding from you. Now repeat the exercise, but make the roof noticeably darker than the walls, brighten the windows, deepen the doorways, and suddenly that little cottage practically starts introducing itself. Hello, I'm the house. I've been here the whole time. Thank you for finally helping people notice me. It's amazing what a few thoughtful value changes can accomplish. This is where beginners often fall into what I lovingly call the beige trap. The beige trap isn't actually about beige, although beige occasionally volunteers as tribute. It's when every color chosen lives comfortably in the safe middle ground. Nothing is particularly light, nothing is especially dark, nothing wants to offend the neighbors. Everything is pleasantly fine. Unfortunately, pleasantly fine doesn't usually produce a memorable artwork. Sometimes your page needs a brave little dark shadow or an unexpectedly bright highlight willing to stand up and announce, yes, I'm different. And no, I will not apologize for it. Another wonderful way to create contrast is by controlling saturation. Saturation describes how intense or muted a color appears. Think about walking through an old forest. The moss, the bark, the stones, and the soil are usually fairly muted. Now imagine one bright red mushroom sitting amongst all those earthly tones. That mushroom instantly becomes the celebrity of the forest. It's signing imaginary autographs while the squirrels wonder when the cameras will arrive. You don't need every color to compete for attention. Sometimes letting most of the page remain calm allows one or two colorful stars to truly shine. Warm and cool colors also create beautiful contrast when they're used thoughtfully. Warm colors like reds, oranges, and yellows often seem to come forward visually, while cooler blues and greens tend to feel as though they're sitting further away. It's one of those delightful little optical tricks our brains perform without asking permission first. You can use this to make certain objects appear closer or more important. Just remember that if everything is warm, nothing feels especially close anymore. It's like inviting the entire town to your exclusive private gathering. The exclusivity disappears rather quickly. Negative space deserves far more appreciation than it usually receives. Many people feel an overwhelming urge to color every single millimeter of white paper. We see empty areas and think they're unfinished. But quiet spaces can be just as important as detailed ones. Imagine listening to music where every instrument plays constantly from beginning to end without a single pause. Eventually your ears are going to file a formal complaint. Artwork works similarly. Giving the eye somewhere peaceful to rest actually makes the detailed sections feel more dramatic. Sometimes the most powerful artistic decision is deciding not to color one more tiny leaf. Patterns can also create contrast, especially when you vary their density. Suppose you're coloring a magical garden. If every flower contains elaborate patterns, every leaf has intricate details, every stone has decorative markings, and every cloud somehow developed geometric ambitions, the page becomes visually exhausting. Instead, allow some areas to stay wonderfully simple, while others become richly detailed. Think of it like a conversation. The funniest storyteller isn't funny because they shout every sentence. They're funny because they know exactly when to pause before delivering the punchline. Your artwork appreciates good timing just as much as your audience does. One habit that helps tremendously is periodically looking at your page from further away. We spend so much time hovering 6 inches above our artwork that we forget most people won't experience it from the distance of an inquisitive owl. Every so often, lean back, stand up, or even hold the page across the room. Suddenly you'll notice whether your focal point is obvious or whether everything has blended into one giant colorful casserole. I have nothing against casseroles, but they're generally not considered an official artistic movement. Distance gives you perspective that close-up coloring simply can't provide. Perhaps the most comforting thing about learning contrast is that it doesn't require expensive supplies. You don't need paint. You don't need advanced equipment. You don't need 27 mystery products with names like Ultra Deluxe Professional Artist Supreme Infinity Collection. You simply need thoughtful choices. Contrast is less about owning more colors and more about understanding the colors you already have. That's wonderfully encouraging because creativity grows far more from observation than from shopping. Though, admittedly, buying new art supplies does provide excellent cardiovascular exercise if you're sprinting towards a salesman. We all have our strengths. As you continue coloring, challenge yourself to think less about individual objects and more about relationships. Instead of asking, what color should this flower be? Try asking, how do I want this flower to stand out from everything around it? That tiny shift changes everything. You're no longer coloring isolated pieces of a puzzle. You're building a complete visual experience where every choice supports the next. Before long, you'll find yourself naturally noticing light, shadow, intensity, and balance without even realizing you're doing it. Your brain quietly upgrades its artistic operating system while you're simply enjoying a relaxing afternoon with colored pencils. The wonderful thing about contrast is that it rewards curiosity instead of perfection. You don't have to master it overnight. Try one stronger shadow. Leave one section quieter than the rest. Make one flower brighter than its neighbors. Little experiments teach far more than chasing flawless pages ever could. Every finished piece becomes another opportunity to notice what worked, what surprised you, and what you'd like to try differently next time. That's the real joy of cozy creativity. We aren't racing toward perfection. We're spending peaceful time learning, experimenting, laughing at our occasional artistic adventures, and slowly discovering just how much life we can bring to flat artwork with nothing more than thoughtful choices. That's it for today's colorful time. I'd love to hear what trick you found most helpful for making your flat artwork pop, or whether you've ever accidentally created one of those everything is shouting pages we laughed about today. Take care, stay creative, and I'll see you in the next one.